Caitlin Clark's strongest opponents just became a lot more concerned. After a debut season in which defenders used every opportunity to beat her up, the Indiana Fever have delivered a loud and obvious message. Those days are over. The arrival of enforcers Natasha Howard and Sophie Cunningham, two of the most physical and fearless players in the WNBA, transforms the Fever from a youthful, promising team to one with grit, toughness, and muscle to back up its star. The rest of the league is now officially on notice. The Indiana Fever resurrected their franchise past season, making the WNBA playoffs for the first time since 2016. Now, the Fever's 2025 summer moves position them to be a title contender this year, or at least prepared to make a deep postseason run. The Fever appeared to be on the rise after going 9-5 after the Olympic break, led by #1 choices and Rookie of the Year winners Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark. Indiana, with its vast cap space, loomed as a club to watch in free agency. Aside from re-signing Kelsey Mitchell on the core qualifying offer, Indiana appeared to be missing out on its targets at first, but that changed dramatically this weekend. With Natasha Howard's promise to return to her first WNBA team, the Fever kept adding last weekend, signing six-time All-Star DeWanna on Sunday. Suddenly, a club with little playoff experience gets two multiple-time champions who happen to slot perfectly into the two weakest spots in their starting lineup. With the Connecticut Sun splitting up and the Storm losing Lloyd, Indiana suddenly appears to be one of the WNBA's top 4 teams. But that's not all. The squad appears to be a legitimate championship contender this season. The franchise's all-star core includes back-to-back WNBA Rookie of the Year winners Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark, as well as veteran Kelsey Mitchell. However, Indiana is recruiting players who have won WNBA championships and have substantial experience. Indiana required a stronger defense and a constant threat from the wing position. Furthermore, more three-point shooting is beneficial. The Fever acquired all of that in free agency and trades over the last week, adding forward DeWanna, forward Sophie Cunningham, and forward Natasha Howard. Bonner and Howard signed as free agents, while Cunningham was acquired as part of a 4-way trade with the Phoenix Mercury that also included forward Nalissa Smith from Indiana to the Dallas Wings. Those moves came after the Fever's other major off-season announcement, Mitchell's return. The shooting guard, an unrestricted free agent, was named a core player by the organization and signed a 1-year contract to return for her 9th season with Indiana. Players are signing 1-year contracts as the union and the WNBA negotiate a new collective bargaining agreement for 2026 and beyond. The 6'4" Bonner is 37, but she appears to be ageless on the floor. Bonner is on her 16th season, having previously played for Phoenix and the Connecticut Sun. She won 2 championships with the Mercury and will compete in the 2022 WNBA Finals with the Sun. Bonner has a lifetime average of 14.9 points, 6.1 rebounds, and 2.3 assists. She spent the previous 2 seasons playing in Connecticut for Stephanie White, who was hired as the Fever's coach in November. Bonner is long and tenacious, despite his deceptively small stature. She has guarded every type of player in the WNBA, and she is well-versed in every offensive and defensive tactic. Howard, 33, returns to the Fever after being chosen by Indiana in 2014 and spending the first 2 seasons there. She won 1 WNBA title with the Minnesota Lynx and 2 with the Seattle Storm. Howard is 6'2", but plays bigger, and she could be a good defensive addition to Boston's interior line. Howard was the WNBA's Defensive Player of the Year in 2019. Cunningham, 28, is the stereotypical love her or hate her player for fans, and she revels in it. Cunningham, nicknamed Spicy Sophie, isn't afraid to engage in physical play and has a grit and edge that White may believe the Fever require. She is also an excellent three-point shooter, having made 254 trays in 6 seasons with Phoenix. All 3 newcomers are also recognized for their willingness and ability to run the court, which is essential with Clark at point guard. Faster is Clark's favored speed, and she rewards players who move around the court. She topped the WNBA in assists last season at 8.4 per game. This offseason has seen a number of major names move around via trades and free agency, and it is far from over. Several clubs will have fresh looks while remaining competitive. The Fever, who finished 20-20 and were eliminated in the first round of the playoffs last season, still have their work cut out for them. However, the additions they've made have filled gaps, should improve them, and will most likely bring even more excitement to the club that led the WNBA in home and away attendance last season. The signing of DeWanna Bonner, however, appears to be the most intriguing. After witnessing the Indiana Fever's blossoming potential with their young core of Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, and Kelsey Mitchell during the 2024 season, the Fever continue to be one of the league's more aggressive free agent teams by signing six-time WNBA All-Star forward DeWanna Bonner to a one-year contract. Bonner, the number 5 overall pick by the Phoenix Mercury in the 2009 WNBA draft out of Auburn, spent 10 years with the Mercury, where she was an All-Star 3 times, 6th Woman of the Year 3 times, and WNBA champion twice. After being traded to the Connecticut Sun in 2020, she has helped the team reach the semifinals in each of her 5 seasons, as well as the WNBA Finals in 2022. Bonner has averaged 14.9 points in 30.4 minutes per game while shooting 41.6% from the field, 30.4% from beyond the arc, and 85.7% from the free throw line across her 15-year career. As an added advantage, Bonner is familiar with Stephanie White, the new Fever head coach, having coached the Sun the previous 2 seasons. Bonner is also acquainted with the recently appointed general manager, Amber Cox, who served as president of the Mercury during Bonner's tenure and later assisted in recruiting her to Connecticut. The Fever's major offseason moves, including re-signing star guard Kelsey Mitchell, trading for Sophie Cunningham, and adding experienced free agents Natasha Howard and Bonner, have propelled the organization into the title-contending debate. The Fever hope that the addition of veteran presence and championship pedigree to the team will help shape Indiana into a title contender for years to come. The Fever's management office has stated that they are not satisfied with simply returning to the playoffs. They want to compete for championships. With Bonner, Howard, and Cunningham now in the mix, Indiana has not only filled critical holes in its lineup, but also added the kind of leadership and experience that can make a difference in high-pressure postseason situations. In prior years, the Fever lacked the senior presence required to handle the intensity of the playoffs. This will no longer be an issue. With 3 new players who have all played important roles on playoff teams, the Fever have significantly improved their ability to close games and perform in crucial situations. Aside from their talent, the new arrivals provide an edge and toughness that Indiana has lacked in recent seasons. Bonner's ability to spread the floor, defend various positions, and hit clutch baskets in the playoffs is vital. Howard's defensive toughness and interior presence will relieve some of the weight on Aaliyah Boston, allowing her to dominate without having to carry the entire defensive load. Cunningham, known for her tenacity and fiery personality, gives a spark to the team's spirit. Her ability to make 3-pointers at a high rate gives her the ideal complement to Caitlin Clark's playmaking. The Fever's ability to run the floor will be another significant asset. Last season, Clark's outstanding passing and transition offense were occasionally hampered by a dearth of teammates who could consistently finish near the rim. With Bonner, Howard, and Cunningham all capable of running the floor and finishing strong, Indiana's offense should soar. The Fever led the WNBA in speed last season, and with more depth, they will only improve. This fast-paced style could provide them a significant advantage over older, slower teams. While the Fever's roster is currently stacked with skill, one of the most pressing questions is how quickly the camaraderie will form. Integrating several new pieces can take time, and the WNBA schedule does not allow for much of a transition period. However, the pre-existing connections between Bonner, Howard, and Indiana's coaching staff should help ease the transfer. Furthermore, Clark's ability to elevate her teammates as a pass-first point guard could aid the team's swift integration. Indiana will approach the 2025 season with high expectations. They are no longer a young club looking to make the playoffs. With a dynamic combination of young players and battle-tested veterans, the Fever will be regarded as potential title contenders. If they can build on last season's success, stay healthy, and create great team chemistry, they could compete for their first WNBA title since 2012. Indiana has progressed from a growing squad to a true powerhouse, thanks to the addition of two of the league's most physical players to safeguard its young core. The elements are in place, but can this overhauled roster turn toughness into a championship run? Will Caitlin Clark and her new enforcers help Indiana rise to the top of the WNBA? Or will the burden of heightened expectations be too much? One thing is certain, this Fever team is no longer simply exciting, they are dangerous.